Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussion on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and Samurai Jack. I'm Justin Cummings, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
Much better response time this time, Michelle.
They don't know that!
Well,
it's a secret.
It's not a secret. It's not a secret anymore. This is our second attempt.
Thanks to you. Yeah, it is.
Well, I like breaking down the fourth wall because in our postmodern era of media production,
oh my god,
I think that the viewer has a right to
you.
know. In media criticism, when discussing Marxism, Michelle,
Ew.
we're not here to talk about Marxism.
I'm not here
folks.
for that, yeah.
Michelle and I are here to discuss the third episode of Season 5 of Samurai Jack, I think Chapter 94, the one that aired March 25th, the newest one, guys. So, if you want to hear our last one on episodes 1 and 2, if you can put up with my super scratchy voice on that one, you can find that at overlyanimated.com or by searching Overly Animated on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. So, Michelle, are you ready to talk about this episode?
Yeah.
What is your initial reaction after watching Chapter 94?
Oh my god, there was so much blood and breaking people's faces and throwing them off ledges and just murder. So much murder. Oh man, I did not see this happening. Was he like this in the original show? Just murdering people left and right? Like, he had a tiny little, like, conversation with himself where it's like, oh, are you still upset that you murdered a human being, which you've never done before? But then I guess he got over it, because then he murdered, like, most of the rest of them, if not all of the rest of them in one episode. So, wow, that was a lot of blood and murder that happened.
So this show definitely, we talked last time about how this show had kind of been very reserved with using its TV-14 rating. This was the episode where...
Now! It was the blood episode!
This was the blood
episode! This is the blood episode!
Just a reminder, if you didn't hear the last one, because the show is TV-14, Michelle and I are going to lighten up a bit on language as opposed to our usual podcast. And with that disclaimer, this was a damn good episode.
Oh my god! Like, the art direction is still, like, on point. Oh my god.
Like, I thought we were done with the wolf after last episode. I thought, like, we reached the conclusion.
I was happy to see the wolf. And they were kind of bros. Did they know each other? Or are they just like, oh, this is my wolf friend just because we're both really messed up right now and we're gonna nurse each other back to health?
I feel like because of, like, production schedule, this isn't what happened. But I feel like Gendy looked at Ludo in the wild and was like, I can do that one better. And gave us this.
Oh, I mean, Ludo the Wild is still an awesome episode in my opinion. And this was just as good in a different way.
Yeah, this was just...
Without the comedy at all.
No.
There's no comedy in this episode.
No, the first, like, half of this episode is just dark and quiet and brooding, and I really enjoyed this. Did you like this more or less than the last two?
Oh... I don't know. I mean, I think I might have liked. I don't know. I think it works like better as like a piece of the whole puzzle, right? It's hard to look at it kind of on its own. Just because like half of it was just him recovering, and the other half was like murdering everyone. So it's hard to say it's like my favorite, but it's not a bad episode, and of the three, I still like it.
Yeah, it's still, the season is still really solid. Like, I think this was really surprising, because I expected the Daughters of Aku to be our main antagonist the entire season.
Yeah, that's what I thought! That's not what you told me! Now they're all dead! Except maybe, hopefully, the main one's not dead. Well, but, like, she fell the wrong way.
I mean, but so did Jack, is the thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, they can't kill him off. So, like, maybe they both fall in a tree?
If Jack is still alive, at least one of the Daughters of Aku is probably alive.
I really hope so. Oh man, they all.
Oh my goodness.
Just all the murder. And like the way they were like, just like when like a spear would stab one in the stomach. But like when the two of them got like punched in the face. You saw their neck, like, turn around. Like
the mask shatter. And...
yeah, like, he was not holding back. And I guess I assumed that he was going to be kind of like an Aang-esque figure, where he'd, like, you know, like, he'd try to, like, find another non-violent way to spare human life, but, like, no, like, when it's him with them, he's like, yo, I'm gonna save myself.
I really like this episode because I think up until this point, Jack had kind of been that Aang figure.
Was he?
In season 1 through 4, like he was saying, yeah, he only fought robots. Like, yeah, he was killing a whole bunch of people, but they were all robots the entire time. Last episode was the first time we saw Jack murder a human.
And I thought it was really gonna, like, you know, give us something to think about, and then, like, that was gonna make him, like, try to make, like, more peaceful choices because he can never take back what he did, but no, he went the exact opposite extreme.
Well, I liked it, because I liked that they showed us the first time he encountered death, and, like, how he was kind of, like, shocked by that, and I think he had lived his life up until that point living in that shock, and then... this episode was him kind of finally accepting and understanding, I guess, his father's words. I think the Emperor's his father. I could be wrong.
I guess the Emperor's his dad. I didn't know he was, like, that high up on the, like, totem pole. Yeah.
Whoever the Emperor was, he finally accepted it because he quoted him, like, in that fight.
Like, essentially, your choices define who you are. Yeah.
Right. I like that because so often we see, especially in animation, we'll see the protagonist, you know, look inside themselves and decide, I can do this my way, and we don't have to be violent. But Jack was like, no, by coming after me, they made the decision to accept the possibility of death. This is the outcome that they have chosen for themselves.
Yeah, which is so true, though, right? Because, like, none of them hesitated. Like, they've been born for this. Like, they were willing to die for the cause. Like, when the first one died, they were like, well, that's, like, a sign of weakness. They just, like, left her body there and kept going. So it's not like they didn't know what the consequences were. They were all prepared to die. But it's still, like, for him to make that choice, like, still feels, like, really interesting. And do you think the fact that, like, he witnessed his father murdering all those people, like, is part of the reason he decided to do it?
Because
they showed that for a reason, right? Like, that flashback.
I think they're showing us why he had it until that point, but maybe they're also showing, like, why he ultimately... I think they're showing us... I think that one scene shows us both. Why he did it and why he is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And I think it's... Because, I mean... I know a lot of people won't agree with, like, ultimately deciding that violence is okay, because I know a lot of people who are, you know, very pacifist and very anti-violence, but... no one said Jack was perfect. He's our protagonist, though, and he's making his decision. And I think, honestly, seeing him make this decision meant a lot more to me, because it's not like the goody two-shoes answer of, we can rise above. No, it was a brutal answer, and whether you think it's needed or not, he chose kind of the tougher answer.
Yeah, and that's
the more gray area answer.
Refreshing to see that after so many stoic main characters. I'd
argue he's a stoic, but he's just a stoic.
You would?
I'd argue he's a stoic, but he's willing. He sees the violence as justified.
Yeah, he's not willing to not resort to violence when he thinks it's warranted. Yeah.
Right. I think if he wasn't a stoic, he would have been more emotional about it.
That's the thing, too. Like, I thought he would be more emotional, but, like, after that, like, hot, sec conversation with himself, he was just like, okay, that's it. Like, I'm gonna define my life by my choices. I'm prepared. And then, like, okay, is that it? Like, are we never gonna see him, like, contemplate it again?
I feel like Spirit Jack is gonna keep coming back. I feel like Spirit Jack's not going anywhere. Because this is the second episode in a row we've gotten Spirit Jack.
Also want to just bring up, Spirit Jack was making some really awesome, uncomfortable faces this episode. Yeah. Like, very creepy.
Like, the faces started, and I'm sitting here like, his face is so distorted, it's almost a racist stereotype. And I'm not, like, I'm okay with that because of the way it's being used, of, like, this side of him, and like it was weird, man. Like that grin was weird. Yeah.
I like that Spirit Jack is like, because this way we get because like Jack's not gonna literally just like say his thoughts out loud. Doesn't make sense. So to have the Spirit Jack like fill that role, so he can hear his like internal thought process, I think that's really clever, and I really like how they're using it.
And I like how like last episode, the first time he appeared, he appeared normally. He appeared the way Jack did. And this episode, he's a lot more distorted. A lot more surreal. It's like showing Jack kind of breaking down, I think.
Or at least, like, becoming a little more unhinged, or like some new version of Jack.
It's time for my favorite segment, the weekly update on the horned night guy on the horse.
Oh yeah, what? No answers. He's just still there.
This week, he sat there on his horse.
Again.
In the distance.
For the third time.
Having horns. And this has been your update on the horned night guy on the horse.
I didn't know we had this update, but I think it's totally warranted because absolutely nothing changes. So why wouldn't we want to talk about it?
We will do the weekly update as this plot arc. Guy. I assume there's going to be a payoff to this eventually. I do.
I was hoping we'd see Aku again, but Aku would have been too lighthearted for this episode, and that feels weird to say since he's still like the main antagonist. But
I know, right?
It's true. He would have been the most lighthearted part of the show. We
can't have the main antagonist here. He's too funny.
You would ruin the upsetting mood. Like, that's so crazy.
Let's talk about this first half. So we pick up right where we left off. Jack, bloody, flowing down a river. He makes it to the cave.
Yeah. I had feelings, because I was like, okay, one thing, he's lost a lot of blood. At first I was like, why is he not dead? Like, if he's been passed out, like, for hours and hours, if not, like, a day, like, he would have bled out by now. And then I realized, because the knife's in him, maybe that's been, like, clogging the wound, you know?
Yeah.
So, but then when he takes it out, he just falls asleep again. I was like, Jack, no! You gotta, like, put some cloth on that! You're gonna literally bleed out and die!
He doesn't age. I'm wondering if he can't bleed out. Like, I'm wondering, like, how much abilities Jack has.
I hope that's the reason, because otherwise I was just like, man, he would have been dead by now.
Furthermore,
for sure.
Have you ever known an anime or anime-esque show to use a realistic amount of blood ever?
No, this was actually a pretty realistic amount of blood.
This was, I will
admit. He should have bled out by now.
When he pulled the knife out and you had, like, the hot blood that was, like, the darker...
No! That was so... Because, Justin, they never would show, like, either, like, weapons being inserted or pulled out on, like, a normal rated show for children.
This ain't no Steven Universe,
inch
kids.
By inch animated being pulled out, I was like, oh, God.
And then watching him, like, stitch it up, like...
Yeah, that was actually, I was like, thank God you're stitching it up, man. Like, you could not survive.
I think, to me, the best animated scene, except maybe the flashbacks where they switched to the widescreen, like, that was nice, but when it's night and, like, the wolf shows up and they both are just outlined in blood.
The blood shots, like, just the black and blood.
Just the black and blood was just...
good! It's just, like... It just paints, like, a very specific picture of them without, like, having to say or explain anything. Just, like, visually, it does that all for you in, like, a second. And it's so nice. And I actually really like the stuff with him and the wolf. Like,
yeah, like, 5 minutes of just him
it was,
and the
like,
wolf.
kind of nice. Yeah, like, the wolf giving him food and covering him in leaves. And then, like, sharing his, like, fur coat.
When they cuddled up, like, that was, like...
Yeah, that was the only sweet parts of the episode, because everything
Jack
else
shivering was just brutal to watch.
Yeah, that teeth chatter sound. Well done, whoever Foleyed that. It was very lifelike.
Yeah. This episode was just brutal, like... Because the thing is, it's not the bloodiest episode I've ever seen of a show. Like, I've seen... like, anime that are, like, super bloody. Like, I've seen I've seen rough stuff.
Yeah, it's the juxtaposition, I assume, of what the show was like before this season. What's so comfortable about it.
And also, like, this show is still being very... Like, this episode did not hold back.
No.
But it still felt purposeful. Like, it never felt gratuitous. Like... They were trying to create the darkest... Like, they were trying to show Jack, like, as a broken man.
Yeah.
And they did. But, like, I've never seen a show have, like, the two-toned blood of, like, kind of the sticky, dried blood being the lighter red, and then the darker blood that's just now coming out. Like, that was To me, that's
the blood color pellet was very yes.
Because like that added to the impact of the moment. Like
no, it did.
That it's so weird to describe that, but it was such a good scene. Like that.
It did make a difference between like the dry blood around him that you kind of gotten used to, but then to see like the new dark blood, you're right. It was just like, oh no, this blood's even grosser. 'Cause it's like fresh. I know what you mean when you say that, though. Yeah, it's so true.
It was rough, and so let's switch. We can agree that the first half of this episode was just stellar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The wolf stuff and Broken Jack and Spirit Jack.
It was great. It felt very tight and nice.
So let's switch to the back half, talking about the Daughters of Aku stuff. So they hunt him down. They leave their dead sister behind. They follow the samurai. We get some nice shots of like the future with like the nice tech bridge, like the green. Yeah, that was nice. That was really nice.
Is it like an Aku bridge? Like what is that?
I think that's just. I think that's just showing like the era that they're in. They're in this weird techie era.
Oh, okay.
But so we finally get the daughters hunting him down, and then we get the showdown. Jack like emerges from his cave. Yeah, accepting now that he is murdered and he's willing to murder again. And then we get the showdown.
And I think the thing that really it does a good job is because like you don't actually know what Jack's gonna do. Like even after the flashback, you don't quite like know which direction he's gonna take. Because like when they what did you call him? Like this the Spirit Jack?
Spirit Jack.
Spirit Jack's talking to me, he's like, would you be willing to kill again? Like, because you know they'll kill you. And he doesn't say anything, so, like, it's kind of up in the air. And then when they're like, stop talking, like, we're gonna fight you, he's like, okay. Like, I still wondered, like, is he gonna find a way to just, like, trap them without killing them? Because that's what, like, a lot of, protagonists would do. But when you see the first spear just, like, hit her in the gut against the tree, it's like, oh man, okay. And then just, like, it went from, like, 0 to 100. Like, the whole rest of it was just, like, straight up fighting to the death, which like compared to how chill and slow paced the first half of the episode was, just like it was such a rush, even though it was like a kind of uncomfortable rush. Like I love the fact that like it was so opposite in that way,
Yeah, it was a really good fight scene. Like this show has been just on the ball. Mm-hmm. Like the OVAs, I don't think Dylan realizes yet. Like y'all gotta help support this. We gotta get Samurai Jack in the OVAs.
Oh, it definitely will.
For fight scenes and whatever, like art
direction. They answered the Tomb. That's still my fave. Like, that was so good.
The Tomb might still be my favorite, but...
Yeah, it's my fave.
As far as, like, just entire episode, this episode was just amazing.
It's really good to watch.
So, I think my favorite part of the fight was when the one with, like, the chain scythe throws her chain and Jack lets it wrap around his hand and, like, it cuts into his arm.
Yeah.
And, like, he shows, cut me, I don't care. Like, you can hurt me all you want. I will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was
seeing the fight when they're, like, swinging on the chain was pretty cool, too.
Oh, like, that was so beautifully shot. Like, not shot, but drawn, like, whatever you want to call it.
It feels like it's a movie, though, right? It feels so cinematic in a way.
This episode especially, is just so cinematic. And that's something this show, I think, has always done well. But this season in particular has just been on the ball. Like, there's no question in my mind. Like, I was kind of on the fence. I would argue this is the best animated series right now.
In terms of just, like, pure, like, direction and style and composition?
It's just, as a show. Like, I think Steven has certain aspects that are better than Jack. Like, I think they have more characterization of, like, more characters. They have more, I think, progressive themes.
But
if I was to, like, try to objectively compare, like, which show deserves, like, the Annie Award or, like, the Emmy for Best Animated Series, I'd give it to Jack.
That's interesting. I mean, I've only seen 3 episodes of Jack. I'm not inclined to give it to Jack, but I also think it depends on, like, what you value most in a show. Because there's something to be said for Jack, which I think, is very just, like, solid, well done storytelling and, like, everything stylistically. And then there's shows that, like, leave a really big impact for whatever, like, say, social themes they're going for, which I think Steven Universe, like, handles really well. So I think they're both good for different reasons, I guess is what I would say. Which is what I always say, but, like, I think it's particularly true for these two if we're going to compare them.
I feel by the end of this season of Jack, which, I mean, is the last season, I feel like by the end of this miniseries, we're going to get some more, like, really interesting stuff on, like,
I hope so.
PTSD or, like, mental illness or just
I want character development exploration, like, and we're kind of getting that in What Didn't Expect with Jack. I just, like, didn't see him going this direction, like, what I assume is so soon because it's the 3rd episode, but, like, it has been 50 years, so maybe it makes perfect sense that he would be in this place at this point. He was contemplating suicide, like, an episode or 2 ago. So,
I forget that happened, but, like, this is a protagonist who has contemplated suicide. He's been through absolute hell. He just, like, committed murder of a human for the first time. Like, he is in a rough place. Yeah,
he's in the state of mind now. It seems like he's willing to do anything it takes to survive, and, like, we're seeing that, like, in real.
And that's the thing. It seems like he doesn't care about Aku right now. Like, he has yet to say,
he just wants to survive, He just wants... He's not willing to give up yet.
And for a while, he didn't want to survive. He just wanted it to all end. Mm-hmm. And now, he's like, okay, I'll try to survive. I'm not trying to beat Aku. I'm just trying to survive, which is more than I wanted to. So... What
do you think changed for him? Just, like, being in a life-threatening situation just made, like, his, like, instincts to survive kick in?
I guess.
'Cause, like, he was kind of willing to give up, so what changed? Like, if that wasn't it, I want to know what was, because it didn't seem that apparent to me as a first-time watcher. I wonder. If anybody has feelings about it, let us know in the comments.
So, we do have an email to read. Before we get to that, let's talk about... Okay. It's from Steve.
Oh, Steve.
Before we get to that, I want to talk about the deer scene with Daughters of Aku.
Oh my god! That actually made me laugh, like, literally.
I laughed and cried, I think. Like, this was really good characterization.
You're like, what are they doing? And they're just, like, rubbing noses for the hell of it. What is happening?
I think it really shows, like, how hyper trained these 6 have been.
Seriously.
Like, they've never been outside. They've never anything. Like, they
DNA is unknown to them.
They can't understand the idea of. They can't understand the idea of companionship.
Yeah.
All they can think is combat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was just such a because, I mean, that's an old concept, but I thought it was done so well in this scene of, like, the 6 of them, like, all being so confused.
See, that's the thing that really confused me at first, Justin, because they had moments like that, and the moment where the one girl, when she was younger, was, like, looking out and seeing the world for a second, and she was, like, so excited, and then she had to, like, go back to training. And now, like, most of them are dead, so it's like, why are we developing them if they're dying so quickly? It just, like, makes me wonder. I like that we're getting... like, the development we are, even if it feels very sparse, like, but, like, if they're all gonna die, I kind of wonder, like, what's the
I'm willing to trust this show right now. I'm willing to trust it.
Me too, but I am still full of questions. It's not a bad thing. I'm glad there are things to have questions about. It's the mark of a good show.
Yeah. Alright, so let's read this email from frequent commenter Steve, one of our patrons. Damn, what an episode. First of all, I want to know, did that frog really talk, or was Jack hallucinating?
Oh, yeah! No, that frog totally talked.
Like, they're right behind you. They're coming for you.
I don't know what frog was doing there, but, yeah.
I'm on team hallucination. You're on team real frog.
I'm on hashtag real frog.
Hashtag real frog, hashtag hallucination. So, there you go, Steve. That's our answers. And wouldn't it be something if we saw the deers actually make love? That could bring us up to the TVMA.
That's kind of what I thought, because when the buck or whatever came in, he was like, hey, I'm like, is this? No. And then it was just a nose rub. It's like, okay, phew. Like, but, like, I had the same question.
Considering in this show so far, like, the amount of blood we've gotten, the birth at the beginning of the season.
Oh, yeah, there have been things. It wasn't out of nowhere to think that. Okay, thank you for validating my brain.
Like, the birth scene, I'm like, alright, we got away with that. Dear love, maybe.
Dear love. Hashtag dear love is the official hashtag of this podcast.
Hashtag dear love.
Hashtag dear love.
Alright, back to the email. Anyway, they are really not holding back with the blood. And we learn why killing humans is a big deal to Jack, and I can't believe it. He killed all the daughters of Aku. You build those characters up and kill them just like that. What a letdown.
Me and Steve are on the same page about that.
Hopefully some of them are still alive. I do think Jack's speech with him was Jack washing his hands of any responsibility for anybody he kills. In his mind, it's their fault for attacking him. I don't know if I agree or disagree with that philosophy. What do you think?
I mean, from his perspective, you can see why it's like... you can't struggle with, like, they're good enough that they probably could murder him if he's not, like, having his A game all the time. And he does get tired. I mean, he's a human being, so...
Yeah.
Acting out self-preservation makes sense, but from their perspective, like, they have not had a very, like, well-rounded life. They've literally been raised for one purpose, and they don't... It's not like they have in their mind any other options but to do this. The idea of not doing it is, like, inconceivable for them in a way right now. And I think if you look at it from that perspective, like, I wouldn't want to kill them, you know? He doesn't know that. Like, he might...
I kind of think, like, Peridot in this moment. Like, when Peridot was talking about the cluster and Steven was like, it's not its fault. It doesn't know what it's doing. And Peridot's like, that doesn't matter. It's still doing it.
But then Steven found a way to, you know, he did the Aang thing.
Jack is not Steven, we have learned.
Jack is not Steven. That's the second hashtag after Dear Love. Hashtag Jack is not Steven.
Like, if you want to compare Cartoon Network's, I'd say right now, two best male protagonists, Steven and Jack. Like, sorry, Finn, you're number 3 for now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Finn, we're bumping you down a notch for right now, but if we're comparing Jack and Steven, they are, like, antithesis. But also...
That's the thing, too. Like, I can't think of any other, like, Aang, Finn, even, like, Dipper or Steven. I can't think of, like, anyone else who's a main character of a show for a cartoon that, like, would murder this many people in one go. I think maybe that's part of the reason it, like, feels like such a big deal also.
Like, who else? Like, even, I'm trying to think, because Western animation has had a really bad habit of only making TV 14 or MA shows when they're comedies. Like Family Guy, American Dad.
Yeah. That's
even Archer.
Yeah.
I mean, Archer is probably the closest, because, like, that does get serious at times.
It's still mostly comedy.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's like, there's no Western comparison unless we go back to, like, Aeon Flux. Like, we don't have a lot to compare to, and I think that's part of why I'm really, really liking this show, is...
that's the refreshing aspect of it.
It's a Western series that's not afraid to get its hands dirty.
Or bloody.
Yeah, like, we see it in anime, but it's very, very rare for an American show to do this in animation, so I'm hoping this kind of sparks a new trend. I don't want it to be, like, exploited, but I hope we see other shows willing to be this serious.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that happen. I would love to cover those shows. I think too. It's unlikely, but possible.
Anything's possible. So
anything is possible with Popsicle. I grew up on those commercials, Michelle. I had to.
I know, Justin. I know.
So, is there anything else you want to discuss before we wrap this up?
I mean, part of me is still like in a haze about it. It was really pretty, though. We haven't said that enough.
This show is so
pretty, you guys. Even when it's like literally like the composition is blood and black, like it's so beautiful in a way. That shot where you just see his face and that like trickle of blood just like goes down to his nose or wherever.
Yes.
It was just like really kind of beautiful in a way.
The show is, like, darkly beautiful.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, beautiful for the sake of being beautiful. Like, there's a shot, like, of the water being all sparkly on the river, I remember. And I was just like, this is so nice! Like, I'm so glad they have a better budget, because this is amazing. Or, like, when it would change from, like, daytime to nighttime, and, like, the color palette changes. Like, it's just kind of beautiful. It takes you out of the, like, grisly stuff, or, like, just, like, knowing that those are coexisting in the same show. It's just really, I like it. I like it a lot.
This is a good show. Like, I am enjoying the living hell out of this. I am excited to see what we get in the next 7 episodes. I'm glad we have our show, Michelle.
I'm glad
we talked about this last time.
Yeah, I'm really glad we have a show too. This is such a good show to have.
Because, like, I feel like this could have gone so bad. Like, this is the first main show we cover that it's just you and I. I feel like it could have gone so bad. Like, we could have ended up thinking, like, hey, we're gonna cover the new Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Okay, and then...
That would never be a show, I hope.
It is.
Is it
you
really?
mean like a podcast? Or like...
Wait, is it an actual show? I thought it was a movie.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball, the series, just started on Cartoon Network, and apparently it's not good.
What? Okay, well, let's not talk about it so no one tells us to watch it.
I know, I don't want to start a war. But, like, we could have gotten that, but no, our first show that just us cover, we picked a really great show.
Yeah, this is so much fun to talk about and to watch.
We got lucky. So, that is episode 3 of the season of Samurai Jack. We will be back next week for more coverage. Upcoming podcast, I think this is going to go out as soon as we're done recording. So upcoming, Michelle and I also did an episode on American Dragon Jake Long. That should be coming out soon.
And watching that and then watching this was a completely
That was a big gap. Yeah, that was a jump. That was really fun way to spend my afternoon. All our usual roundtables are coming up, so be on the lookout for those. Is this the only show doing weekly stuff right now?
I think so, yeah. Everything else on hiatus.
Alright, so we're your only weekly show, so
we're
I
your
hope
only
you like
weekly
us.
show, so you better listen to us.
You better like Michelle and I, because you're stuck with us.
Your love. More quality content. Tune in next week.
Tune in next time. Thank you so much to everyone who supports us. Keep in touch on iTunes, review us, all that jazz. Leave comments everywhere you can. Just scream at us on everything you have. Thank you. You can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you so much to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, one of our newest patrons, Hugh, aka Hugh Neutron, Jimmy Neutron fan. I am quite a fan of that show.
Hugh. Welcome to the party, man.
Well, welcome to our little family, and I'm glad you like Jimmy Neutron because that show was thebomb.com.
We could do that show, Justin. I'd be okay with that.
Do you want to do just a retrospective on Jimmy Neutron, or do you want to do the Jimmy Toomey Power Hours? Because, like, if we're going, we gotta go just full...
Power Hours. Yeah, let's do it.
A trilogy of podcasts on the Power Hours. Let's not.
That's the first time I've heard you turn something down in your entire life.
Hey, I was down for the B-movie podcast. I'm still down.
I'm still down for that. Please, people, tell Dylan to do it. I want to do that.
I want to do B-movie. I want to do Sausage Party. I really want to do Sausage Party.
Really?
Yes. I honestly
I
like that movie.
I think of you as so innocent and pure somehow. You really want to do Sausage Party?
Because you think of me as so pure because you only hear me talk about Steven Universe. And then I'm like, I want to talk about the movie about God and food orgies. Like, yay.
The word orgy sounds too dirty for your sweet mouth. It shouldn't come out of my mouth. Yes!
My sweet mouth. Hashtag sweet mouth.
Oh, this is so bad.
Alright, we're gonna go before this gets worse. Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.